So it sounds to me like your father was able to maintain all the publishing from his music.
No, not all.
Well, not all, but some of the publishing.
Well, the stuff that's not really known.
Okay. But that's rare for that time period for a black man to actually have any of his publishing. How was he able to keep some of it?
I wouldn't say rare.
Okay.
Otis Blackwell was kind of like maybe the first one that they gave him a piece of his publishing. That came about through my father's connection, like that relationship with Otis and Sheldon Music. And then the people who owned Sheldon Music, they wanted to give my father a subsidiary publishing company, So it wasn't, to partner with white music publishers in that way. It wasn't common, but it was starting to happen. I think inevitably that rather than to get this person to go off on his own, let me just get him, here. So when they saw people were talented enough to get out there and do their thing, they kind of reeled them in with this, we'll get you sharing the publishing with us.
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. So all of the stuff in the 60s, my father retained the publishing, except for times, I do believe there were a couple of times where he just wrote. He felt, I could give you one song where he just wrote, and I don't think he's getting any publishing on this. It was a song called She's So Innocent. And it was right, on the Beatle wave. So this white group called themselves the U.S. Beatle Whigs. And they wanted a song that was in the Beatle vein. And so my father wrote this song, She's So Innocent. It sounds like a Beatles song. Because, and if you could imagine it, she's so innocent, yeah.
What was his thoughts on maintaining publishing? Did he ever speak to you about that?
Yes, felt it was crucial. Because at some point, and he learned this, the record itself is not going to be famous or as prevalent. It's going to be the song. And that's really the scheme of what copyright is all about. It's the work itself. If the work, because now there have been, other branches of copyright. Sound production is one. The sound recording, so that's now protected by copyright. The actual sound recording is protected by copyright. So, which is very beneficial to artists because, they would have to now sign something turning that right over. And if they don't, they can still get paid on the sound recording. Even though they may not own the master, but they can get paid on that sound recording because they never gave that right up. So, look at my father's song Lollipop. Over the last 14 years, look how many times it's been used in major commercials. Target, Cole Clothings, Cole, right?
Kohl's, yeah.
Kohl's, right?
Department store.
Dell Computers. God.
It's everywhere.
Tide.
Yeah.
Now, you know, the way it works, even if I try to rearrange the song, if I took your record and I took the actual record and remixed it, they have to pay for that. Because I took your recording and I used the same elements of it and I just mixed it up. Now, if I just came up and mixed and just, you know, re-recorded something and took a lick here and lick, you know, then I can get away, you know, I wouldn't have to pay. But if I took the actual record and just, you know, sped it up real fast, it's still lollipop at high speed. If I loop it, you know, if I go, whoop, 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 it's still lollipop, only looped, you know? So, so Tide did this when that pod, Tide Pods came out.
Yes.
And this is how I knew they used it. They did, they paid. Not necessarily, the advance money didn't go to me, but every time that commercial gets played on TV, money comes into the performance rights. So even though my father doesn't own Lollipop per se, he gets paid on the performance rights. Every time that record is performed, radio, television.
So he did keep, he does have publishing to this song. Wow.
Well, he has performance rights.
Okay, with ASCAP or BMI or something
Right,
like that.
and to be a member of BMI or ASCAP, a publishing company cannot own a writer's share of the publishing. So they sign agreements that they are signing an agreement stating that they don't own the performance rights of the song. I should say the publishing for the performance rights.
Okay.
So now, you know, so if they don't pay, you could just produce that contract and say, look, hey, they tell you they don't own it, but BMI wouldn't accept them as members.
Why not?
They can't be a member. They have to knowingly say they're not going to own. I mean, if you need BMI to collect your royalties in the performance category, they're not going to pay you the writer's share. So you sign an agreement knowing that. So that's how writers, if their songs get played, you know, on the radio, commercials being used over and over like that, that's how they get paid.
So they collect the performance, but they can't get the writers. What about the composer share? Because you know I was broke down 50-50.
Well, that's how you own the performance right, because you composed the song.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the performance royalties if you didn't, you know, write the song. So, but the pod, there was a movie called Whip It, and it was Drew Barrymore's first, it was her directorial debut, Whip It. And when the movie ended, the credits had this interesting thing of Lollipop, like a remix. You know, boom, 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 you know, so this DJ's just like, you know, he's going, you know, whatever. And so Tide used that portion. So they just go, oh, pop, pop, oh, pop, you know, and so they had to pay for that. So anyway, you know, taking the old record, just reusing it, and since he owned it, you know, he didn't have to get permission, and he would just put some extra beats, some extra horns, you know, and just kind of like he's using the same track.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's kind of like it is a sample, because he's not rearranging, he's not trying to rearrange the music itself. He's taking the actual, now some, you know, our rappers don't have access to the tracks.
No.
Some will get access. You know, it depends who you are. If you want to really do a real sophisticated thing. So, you know, it is possible to be in the studio borrowing the actual tracks from another song. And it's considered a sample. But most of them just have access to the disc. So they just put the disc on and they re-record a certain portion of it. And that's what they do. But so since my father owned the track itself, he reused, he didn't take it from the disc. He took it from the track.
Mm.
But it's the same thing.
Same melody, same harmony. That sort of reminds
Well,
me.
not the melody he changed.
Okay.
Like what they would do with sampling. They're not going to use the same melody. You know, like the most, in my opinion, Beneath the Sheets was like a very popular song that everybody was sampling. And
Between the Sheets by the Isley Brothers?
yes.
Yes.
So you had Biggie Smalls, you had Keith Murray,
A Tribe Called Quest.
you know, Ashanti, you know, and they have different melodies. You know, well, Ashanti's was more, of course, melodic. Mm-hmm. But Biggie's One More Chance, da-na-da-na, one more chance. Let me see, was that?
No, it was Big Papa. I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Yeah, my mistake.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah, that was Big Papa.
All right. So there was a melody in that too.
Yeah.
So that's a different melody from Beneath the Sheets. Mm-hmm. But the one, what's that one?
You talking about from Biggie?
Well, he sampled it.
It's called One More Chance.
Yeah, but did something else before that.
You mean the song that he sampled it from?
Yeah, that's another song. She uses, her melody is different than One More Chance. So my father, see, in copyright, there's a thing known as a derivative. Mm-hmm. So I can take a song and I could make another song using the song, you know, that the world knows.
Derivative work, yeah.
So derivative work. Sampling is technically that. They didn't come up with a new name. There's no new copyright branch. Mm-hmm. They figured derivative would cover that. What makes sampling distinct is that you're taking the actual mechanical of something, whether it's from a disc, a track, a tape. You know, you're taking that mechanical that's fixated onto something tangible, disc, tape, track, and you're making another work. We call that sampling, to be more, you know, to give it a meaning. So that's the distinction. So sampling, it's still considered, you know, doing a derivative. And you need to get permission to do that. Yes. It's not an automatic right that you can just take somebody's song and just do that with. You can cover another person's song. That's under the compulsory licensing law. Yeah, compulsory licensing law. Am I saying that word right? Compulsory. Is that how you say it?
Uh-huh. But I noticed during the 90s it changed a little bit, and they went from sampling to actually replaying the music they wanted to use because they didn't want to pay for the mechanical rights and the performance rights.
You still have to pay.
They didn't have to pay the record companies at that point because they were charging exorbitant amounts. So say you sample from a record, they would charge.
The record would say, yes, you can't do that, you got to pay us.
Yeah.
Because we have the sound recording.
Right.
Right, so
What
see?
they did, they replayed the music so they only had to deal with the artist and not the record company.
Right. However, we do find that they are still using samples because they want that authenticity. So, yeah, they want it to sound grainy. They want it to sound, they want that sound. And the only way that you're going to get that sound is to take the actual record. So they're back to doing that again. And so the record companies are like saying, okay, look, we won't charge you as much.
Let's make a deal.
Let's make a deal. Because, right, there you go. So they were doing that, going away from that. And then the record companies, well, okay, wait a minute. We'll let you do it, but we won't charge you as much money.
It seems like they're only willing to do business with us when it's going to hurt them tremendously.
Exactly. So, yeah, so I could get... Tupac has a record, and it's called an interpolation. It's not a sample. They interpolate a phrase of a song that you know of. And they sort of like, they rework the phrase in and out. So you're not taking the actual record. But I could take, for example, a Delphonic song. You know how they'll go, they'll do a Donald Duck speed up. Mm-hmm. So I just recently heard something with, I think it's Hey Love or For the Love I Gave to You. Yeah, so I don't know if they're really using the record. Mm-hmm. So they could have recorded For the Love I Gave and sped it up, but that's throughout the whole song. Enough times where William Hart is like, I'm sure they didn't try to sneak one over, but in any event, if it says contains samples from, they use the actual mechanical. If it says contains an interpolation of, so they're not using the actual mechanical, but they are taking the phrase.
So where are they getting the specimen from if they're not using the actual mechanical?
They're recording it.
Recording it live at a concert or
No.
television?
No, they're in the studio, and you're gonna love me.
From a mechanical though?
No. I could go into the studio, and I can go, and you're gonna love me. And I keep on flying that in high speed. You're gonna love me.
Oh, but it'll be you, not from the record.
Right. You're gonna love me.
And you have to give the artist credit for that, or the record
the writer and the publisher. You
Just
can't
for a
say,
phrase.
Huh?
Just for a phrase.
Because everyone knows that phrase comes from For the Love. Because they even open it. They go in the Donald Duck high speed, and you're gonna love me. You're gonna wanna hug me and squeeze me in Donald Duck voice. Mm-hmm. And then he goes into, whatever. And then they keep on going, and you're gonna love me. in and out.
Ah,
So
learn something new every day.
that's not, they'll tell you. Because all someone has to do now, if they still got to pay interpolation, but like you said, if they took the record, well, you know what? Sound recording copyright didn't come into existence until 72. So anything before 72, they can get away with it.
So they don't have to go to the record company
Right,
at all.
before 72.
Oh, you're
Right.
about to see a gang of samples come from the 50s and 60s now. People going to watch this and start sampling
But they still got to pay derivative, they still got to pay,
to the artist, but not to the
no, to the publisher,
Okay.
but not to the record company.
That is good to know.
Right.